if that game had been a success, I wouldn't be against it at all. I just think it's a little frustrating as a fan.
I would be against it.
You would be against it?
Because it's like, what the fuck? Why is this? Why is this Splinter Cell? What the fuck? Like, it's just nothing to do. Just put another, like, use another franchise, man. Use like Rayman.
Welcome everybody to episode 46 of New Game Pluscast. My name is Juan Paolini and I'm sitting here with my new co-host, Cristian Caroli. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing well, doing well. We have some interesting topics today, so it's gonna be fun.
Yes, very interesting to get into. If you saw the headline of this video, you probably already figured it out. But yeah, we're going to be talking about what the fuck happened to Ubisoft. It's a video game company / publisher that has a lot of studios. I mean, everybody in the industry really knows this name. If you don't, what kind of rock have you been living under? But I wanted to make a disclaimer before we get into this topic. It's probably gonna be somewhat negative because I think that both Cristian and I agree that the direction the company is going into is not really what we would have chosen.
But we have a solution. We have a solution.
Aha. So you see, it's not only criticism, it's constructive. We're offering solutions. So yes, on the one hand, we have that. And on the other hand, I just wanted to clarify, at least from my end, I'm guessing Cristian as well. The reason we are frustrated is because we have, initially love these games, at least for me. So because we're going to get into the history we have with Ubisoft in a moment, but yeah, like this frustration comes from love. At least, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Just in case there's any people there's in the comments saying that we're being haters or negative. That's our initial thing. That's where the criticism comes from. Okay, so what the fuck happened with Ubisoft? Let's begin, Cristian, with you. Tell me what your history is with Ubisoft games. Where did you play them? What did you play? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Give me the rundown.
So Ubisoft games have a pretty close. They're pretty close to my heart because I used to be a huge Tom Clancy fan. I'm still am. I like Tom Clancy novels. I read a few of them when I was like in my early teen, like when I was 17, 16. I got into like reading military fiction, and then I actually jumped into the games. It wasn't like the other way around, which is kind of like a bit ridiculous when I think about it, because like I was a kid and I was still just like reading these super complex military books. But anyway, the point is like they launch all these military titles that to me they were super cool, and at the same time they had this other amazing single player experience games like Prince of Persia. And I was one of those people that whenever there was a new game coming from Ubisoft, I was like excited. It was a logo that I would be like, this is gonna be fun, kind of thing. And that's how I started, like back in the day from PC, and PS, and like even the PS2 GameCube era, like.
Yeah, actually, you and I were just talking before we hit record here that on the PS2 GameCube / Xbox, although I didn't have an Xbox at that time, they were like, I remember that logo coming in so often because I used to play Ghost Recon, I used to play Splinter Cell, I used to play Prince of Persia. Like I played the whole trilogy of Prince of Persia games, and I was such a fan. I mean, those games all touched different sides of my gaming fandom, and yeah, we come a long way, Ubisoft and I, and with you as well. So, and by the way, I just wanted to say I commend you on beginning with Tom Clancy's novels because that's how it should go. I mean, he's a writer first, and then he kind of, his name got attached to all these video game things. So it's how it should be. So yeah, I think that's
the novels come first.
Exactly, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he passed, I think, in 2013 or something like that.
Yeah, a long time ago, I think, already.
Yeah, and well, but I mean, his name remains because I believe that Ubisoft bought or has the rights to anything Tom Clancy related, even though, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure, but like The Division and all these new things, and we're gonna get into a very weird use of the Tom Clancy name in a few topics from now, but like he didn't write the Division or anything related to the Division, right? It's
No, and most of the games he didn't write the games. They come from the lore of the games. Like if from the novels. Like if you read the novels are just like thick, kind of like a paperback novels that they have very complex military situations and jargon and stuff like that. It's hard. They're not easy to get into, but they're really cool. And Ubisoft owns anything that if it's a video game and it has to do with Tom Clancy, Ubisoft owns it. They also specifically own the character of Sam Fisher.
Exactly. Okay. Which we will get into as well. Sam Fisher. Rest in peace.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Okay, so like that's what I played back in my teens. Of course, throughout the PS3 generation and the Xbox 360 generation. Actually, my favorite Splinter Cell is Splinter Cell Conviction. I know that may sound weird to some people.
That's a good one.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it, but it's weird because when I hear about fans talking about, they always praise the One Pandora Tomorrow and Chaos Theory trilogy, and then the other ones get kind of sidelined, right? And I agree that you could sideline maybe Blacklist, although I did like that one. I agree that you could sideline Double Agent, but Conviction, man, I mean, that's where for me the story really got very. But okay,
and also like there were. That one really changed the dynamic. Like the game like because they were stealth games to the point like when you were no longer in stealth, the game kind of like broke. Like it was not a shooter. Like at that point, it was like, what am I even doing? Like it was better to restart a mission than to improvise a little around like the fact that you had been discovered. And with Conviction, they did the last scene, like last known location thingy where you would just live like a shade whenever they would see you. And I remember like back then that was like mind blowing. It was super fast and it was dynamic, and the whole shooting and hiding was really seamless. I really liked that game. I thought that Ubisoft not only had the ability to make good games, but they also had the ability of reinventing the good games they already had, That's kind of like how I see it, because they did that also with Prince of Persia.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, 100%. Like just to close the thing on the Conviction, what got me for that game was first the story, because it's like a family story. Before it was like this typical, which is also pretty cool, like conspiracy or spy things, or the typical thing. And here it's about Sam Fisher's daughter. She gets kidnapped and you have to figure out how to get her back. So that also, there is one scene in that game which is is very important to me because it kind of stuck with me for some reason. It's on the tutorial where they're teaching you like to get in the shadows. They do that through a scene with Sarah, who's your daughter. And like typically with kids, she's like scared of the dark. And Sam, being a spy that hides in the dark, says that, like, he says something along the lines of, in the dark, you can actually hide from the monsters. And I think that's kind of stupid, but for me, it's so meaningful because it kind of condenses stealth gameplay in a little, very emotional scene between a father and a daughter. And I loved it so much. So I thought that was really masterful, but that's one of those little gems that nobody remembers, and they just stuck with me probably. But yeah, like I love that, and you're totally right about them reinventing it, because you would think that when you go into a more action focused game, you'd lose the stealth, but to me it only complemented it. Like it just added, it didn't subtract anything. So yeah, absolutely agree. So yeah, like if you're not an Ubisoft fan, or you don't know what we're talking about, these are the people behind Prince of Persia, Rainbow Six, Ghost Recon, Rayman, Beyond Good and Evil, Mario plus Rabbids, which is a very, very good game, even though it shouldn't be.
Like you wouldn't expect it to be that good, and it is.
100%. 100%. I don't understand how it's good, because I remember the trailers were like Mario with guns, and it just works. It's amazing. And then they also did recently Hyperscape, which was a total dud. I mean, I remember a couple of friends of mine played it, and then nobody else remembered it.
Yeah, it's like they were like, we don't need another battle royale. Like, damn, who would have thought?
Who would have thought? Yes.
Who would have thought?
And I also wrote this one here because I think it's so funny. Skull and Bones, which is it's a game supposed. I mean, it's been in development for like 8 years. I didn't realize that it had been that long. They announced it back in. I mean, if it's in 8 years, it's probably 2014, 2013 when they announced it. And yeah, it's like this thing based on the naval combat on Assassin's Creed games, where it was supposed to be multiplayer. I mean, when I started seeing the trailer, I remember getting very excited because I thought it was some kind of spin-off or something. And when I saw its multiplayer, I was like immediately signed off. Well, no, I'm not doing this. But yeah, so yeah, we began with Splinter Cell, and that's the next item on our list. So I would just love to go through these subjects and get into our beloved Sam Fisher, which is one of the casualties in this new Ubisoft. So yeah, beloved trilogy with 1, Pandora Tomorrow, and Chaos Theory. Then they went to Double Agent, Conviction, which we just covered, and Blacklist. Weird thing with Blacklist, one of the most important things for me in these games is Michael Ironside voicing Sam Fisher. And in this one, for some reason, I believe it was because of the screen capture, the motion capture. They hired this other dude, and that detracted a lot from the game, in my opinion. I don't know if did you play it?
Yeah, I played it, and I remember seeing the reviews saying it was bad, but I was like, I already played all of them. Like, why wouldn't I play this one? And yeah, like losing that voice acting was a hit. Like it took away too much from the character. Like there are not that many characters, but I would say their voices are like that important. But in the case of Sam Fisher, because like he is a presence in the screen, like and within the story he plays, he's supposed to be this almost force of nature that no one knows what is happening. It's hidden, like, and he has so few lines that whenever he would articulate them, he was impactful. And then suddenly that was gone, and it was like it wasn't. I wouldn't say it gained anything, which I would usually say that. For example, it happened with Metal Gear 5 that Kiefer Sutherland replaced David Hayter, and it was better because Kiefer Sutherland was actually voice acting a character that seemed a bit more human, and I always thought that David Hayter, even though it's a great actor and it did a great job, it was always kind of like almost a parody.
Oh, you know? 100%. It's super campy. I mean, it's like
exactly.
You're pretty good. It's like, what's that? But I mean, I love it. But it's
kept you waiting, huh?
That's so good.
Yeah.
Kept you waiting, huh? Yeah. So good.
It was, and I think that's one of the things that Ubisoft completely lost. Like they don't know, and I say this like from a point of view of a fan, and I don't know if this is middle management, this is like executives passing down orders or like whatever, but I feel like they don't know what makes their games good. Like it's like you have something in that game that was like, okay, the voice of this guy really sells it, and the 3 dots on the visor in the dark, like you have to keep that. And they didn't kill the visor, of course, because then it would be like, what the hell is this? But they killed the voice acting. They didn't put that much attention into stealth anymore, and they were trying to make Sam Fisher something that he wasn't. Like I think they try to make him like a superhero or Jack Bauer. I think if you ask me, like around that time, 24 was on TV. It was super big, massive, again with Kiefer Sutherland, show where you had like this super agent that was Jack Bauer working for an anti-terrorist organization, and that kind of like more for distorted every single military hero out there, because they all try to become Jack Bauer, and it was just like, no, what, it wasn't the soul of the character, I believe.
Not at all. No, I think you're totally right. And I think that goes back to Michael Ironside, what you said about Sam Fisher speaks very rarely. Like he's not a exposition heavy guy, or no, not at all. I mean, he's a spy. He can't really speak because he gets hurt. Like it's in the character, right? And yeah, totally agree. I mean, I thought the Blacklist was fun. I enjoyed the gameplay because I think that the stealth that those guys did with that game similar to Conviction, although Conviction is better in every way. They really nailed a good one, but seeing this detriment of the character and the story is very disappointing. So it did actually detract from the game. So I mean,
I was playing it and I remember thinking, this is the last Splinter Cell we're ever gonna play. Like literally thinking that, like this is not getting a sequel. Like it looks here like they don't want to make this a thing, or like they don't know how this is gonna become a thing. But in the beginning, like I think that Splinter Cell had an amazing amount of potential, because back then games didn't have this wide range of possibilities that they have now. Things were either a shooter or not a shooter, or an RTS games, or click it. Like it wasn't. Action games were not as dynamic as they are today.
Yeah, totally. I think, and also it's funny because people are always, when like stealth fans are always like, are you a Metal Gear fan or are you a Splinter Cell fan? And as always, my answer is always like both. Like they both tackle very different things. Like you couldn't really compare it. I mean, perhaps in terms of gameplay, because they're both stealth, but like the philosophical rabbit holes that Kojima goes into, this Ubisoft never did that. Like never.
They just had good levels and gadgets and cool things, and the game looked great, and
exactly,
and it was fun. Like, and Sam Fisher is a soldier as well, but it's a soldier in a different way than Snake is a soldier. Sam Fisher is, and I think that's where Tom Clancy comes into play, in the sense that this character follows order. You know, like in the first game, the second game, then the third game. I think they put some type of decision making in the third one, or was it in the second one?
Double Agent, I think.
Double Agent. So it's the third. It's the third one, I think.
No, the fourth one.
That's the fourth one. And even at that point, it was something very new. But before that, the idea of the game was like, there's this menace. These are the missions. Carry them on. Mitigate some violence and risks in between. But you were a soldier. Like you had a very direct mission. You were always being guided towards your objective. You didn't have much of an initiative, because everything was about gameplay. So that's why those games were very, very good.
Exactly. So everything we've talked about up until now on Splinter Cell is like the then, and then we come into the now. The now, what Splinter Cell has become, or what Sam Fisher has devolved into, is he's now an NPC in various games like Ghost Recon Wildlands, Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and Rainbow Six Siege. Luckily, at least they had the decency to bring back Michael Ironside for these NPCs, but it's a fucking NPC. So it's like,
He's gonna be a skin. That's his future. He's like, is he in Smash Brothers? He's not in. Like, I'm honestly asking. Is he? He could be in Smash, right?
He's a solid Snake skin for
exactly. He's not even a character. He's just a solid Snake skin. Like, he's not even gonna give him like the Fire Emblem treatment, or having like another guy with a sword. No, it's just another skin for Snake.
God!
It just there's also the case for that franchise. It's a niche franchise. Like, it doesn't. But you could build a game around that. Like, I'm sure, like, if they were to make a new Splinter Cell game, and it's a single player experience, and it's about stealth, and the story is good, and it's about like military strategy, enough people will play that. Like, it's that good.
Oh, Cristian, even if it's not good, I will buy 10 copies just so it gets support.
Exactly.
I'll buy it on Switch, never touch it in the fucking Switch, and buy it everywhere else.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I will do.
But it's weird, because like, this is a company that had like the really good franchise, and then they just laid it to waste. Like, they were like, "Oh, you're not an action shooter, then we can't keep making games." You know, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like, but you didn't buy the last one. It's like, but you guys fucked up the last one. Like, you know what I mean? It's like blaming us as the consumers. I'm not saying they did that, but it's just funny to think that. Yeah.
They do that. And at the same time, they are constantly trying to make this, I don't know, Ubisoft cinematic universe kind of thing happen, and like, no one wants this. There's no such a thing as a as a Tom Clancy video game, I don't know, globalist. Like no one wants all these games to be
Well,
hyper super connected in a
now
way.
there now there is, Christian. Now you
Yeah,
have
now I have it.
now you have what's the fucking name? Tom Clancy's X Defiant, the Tom Clancy punk rock multiplayer shooter.
We have a class shooter. Guess what? A skills shooter. Imagine that. I wonder who thought of this again.
Exactly. Oh my god. And I mean, I don't know if we should get into this now. Maybe me. I mean, yeah, it came with the conversation. I mean, like, did you see the trailer for
Yeah.
for that game?
I will never play it.
Oh no, hell no.
I'll never play it.
I already have Warzone first of all, and it's like first of all, there's an emoji in the title because the reason why it's X Defiant is because the XD is an emoji.
Whoa.
Just in case
It's like why? Like what year was this? Who chose this name and when? Like if someone chose that name this year, it's like whoa. If someone chose it like in 2007, I'm like okay, kind of cool, I get it, but Jesus, it looks so bad. It looks like the ultimate Ubisoft game. Completely clueless of the existence of any other game in the world.
100%. But the thing I wanted to get into with you because you have an insight into the both the games and the novels. What hit me about this is not the game because the game, like I'm not a multiplayer guy, so I can't really like say I like it or I don't like it. Like I don't have that criteria to say that. It looks fun, but as I said, it looks like a Warzone clone. But
No, it's actually a Valorant clone.
oh well, yeah,
It's,
okay.
it's because you have abilities and yeah, and you have maps and then you have skins and that's the game.
But
On
that,
an
but
Overwatch game, like it's just that type of game.
exactly. But the thing that hit me is that in the first 5 seconds of the trailer, you can already tell what's wrong with it, and it's that you get the Tom Clancy name, you get the Tom Clancy little soldier logo thing, and it has like a mohawk painted on top of it with the whole punk rock thing. That is not Tom Clancy things. That's not. Please tell me. What do you think?
No, there's not a single mohawk in any in any Tom Clancy novel ever written. Like
There's not.
military people can't really put on a helmet. If they have a mohawk like that one, I think that they have a few franchises. They have like this franchise which is Tom Clancy, and they think that is going to serve them way more one day than what it actually delivers. That's kind of like for me the core failed concept of this game, because if this game was like any other franchise or any other branding or like a shooter for McDonald's or Burger King, I would be like, okay, this seems like it fits. Like you have Ronald McDonald, running around killing the Burger King or I don't know what other character exactly, like the purple. The sneaky burger thief guy or like some shit like that. Even if that was the brand, I would be like, okay, I gotta get it. But with Tom Clancy, it's like these guys just don't know what to do. They don't have a soul. Like these games, no one wants this game. People want other games, and then they are making the same game but just worse and 3 years later. And this is definitely the case with this one. No one is excited when you tell them, hey, there's a new class-based shooter out there. It's like, okay, we already have like 4 of them, and we still have the old ones running. And it's like, why would I play this? And that wasn't the case with Ubisoft. I remember the trailer of Assassin's Creed, the first one. Like, imagine how long this is. That it's just Assassin's Creed, the end of the name. Like there's
Exactly.
there's nothing after. And I was remember thinking, man, can video games do this? Like, this is so cool. Like, this is so different. This is new. This is the next big game, and it's coming from this studio that is massive, and that won't be the case anymore. Like, I don't think that Ubisoft can make the next big game, even if it was delivered to them in a hard drive in their headquarters.
Yeah, they would be like, huh. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Just to close the Sam Fisher casket. So they included him in Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, which I just read moments ago that will be shut down in October 4th. For those who don't know, Tom Clancy's Elite Squad was like a Fortnite-looking mobile game with, again, Tom Clancy's name on it, that it had like Splinter Cell characters and other characters from other games, and it was like a travesty to use this guy, this beloved character, like not having used him since 2013 in Blacklist, and now making him an NPC or a playable character in a mobile game. It's like, come on, man, are you trying to shit in our throats? Like, is that what you want?
It was a gacha game. Like, it's one of those Clash Royale games where you have kind of like units, and then you put them in the map, and then they do things and they automatically play. Which, again, it's there. I used to be a really good, really big Clash Royale fan, and yeah, the game was cool. But like, I don't want a Splinter Cell Clash Royale. Like, I understand they have the license, and like it probably cost them money. They need to make money out of it. But it's like, not here. No, don't do that. Don't do that here. And they're shutting it down.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, mobile games is such a different market from what Ubisoft is really good at, that I would be really impressed if they could actually reach like a really good, successful IP branded product with the know-how that they already have, that comes from basically single player AAA games.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, if that game had been a success, I wouldn't be against it at all. I just think it's a little frustrating as a fan.
I would be against it.
You would be against it?
Because it's like, what the fuck? Why is this Splinter Cell? What the fuck? Like, it's just nothing to do. Just put use another franchise, man. Use like Rayman. Or
yeah,
stuff
why not Rayman? Rayman has the aesthetics and everything. Like, I don't get it, man.
If you want to make a mobile game, just don't use Sam Fisher. Just use some other guy. It's just like, I mean, if they make a good game, then make a good game. Kudos to them. Celebrate that. But it's like this. It's doomed from the beginning. It's not gonna, like, you see it and it's like, no one wants this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I saw the news that it's going to be shut down, it was like, oh, big surprise. It's like,
like, no one expected it.
Nobody. And then the other thing they're doing, which I think this could be somewhat exciting, although I would rather have a fucking game, is that they have a Netflix animated series in the works. Netflix animated series, like the one from Castlevania. I loved it. I thought it was really awesome. One of the best video game adaptations to the silver screen that I've seen. But probably the best, because the other ones have been really, really bad.
Everyone keeps telling me that. I saw the first season. I remember I liked it, but this is like a long time ago, like 2015, because it was like the first one when it came out. And it was like, this is cool. But people keep telling me like it gets better. Like, it just keeps getting better, and it's really good. So I'm probably gonna pick it up next.
Yeah, no, please do, because I mean the one you saw, I think, was like a kind of a prologue where they kind of wanted to test it out, and I was left a little bit frustrated because it was like 4 episodes and they were like 5 minutes long each. But I mean, yeah, I totally recommend it. It was really, really good. And it just ended at like the last season was the end, supposedly. I don't know if they're gonna do something else. They are also gonna do I think it's like a Witcher prequel, because it censors.
Yeah, they already announced it. The one with Vesemir, who's Geralt's mentor.
Exactly.
So he'll be
there. And it looks really, really good.
It looks great. It's one of the things with American animation that I don't really usually get into. It's like, I don't like it. Like, I'm missing. I don't want it to be like 60 FPS, but it's like, can I get more frames in between these shots, please? Like, it looks or is there a comic that I could just read?
Exactly, like a slideshow.
There are some that are just really horrible, like the Pacific Rim one, just super fucking bad, and there are a few that I've just started them and I was like, okay, I want to get into it, and it's like, I can't. But with this one, it looks good, and I think that if they do the same thing with the Splinter Cell one, again, like, I don't know what they're gonna do, like how they're gonna, but potentially it could be cool.
Yeah, the thing that kind of gets me thinking a little bit is that I didn't mention, but the John Wick writer, the guy who wrote all the movies, Derek Kolstad, he's the one who's writing this one, and apparently it's right now it's in the writing stage. So it's in pre-production. So it's days away. But sorry, days away, no, years away.
Years away.
Yeah. But what gets me from this is that like one of the main selling points for both Castlevania and the Witcher prequel that they're doing, which is called I think Nightmare of the Wolf or something.
Yeah.
Is the action. I mean, the characters have to be good, of course, and I love the characters in Castlevania. I don't doubt that Vesemir. I mean, I already know him from the games, and I hope they do a good rendition here. But with the spy thing where you center around stealth, like what's gonna be the action selling point, or what's gonna be why did you go to animation then? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, 100%.
There has to be something there, and also Michael Ironside. It's a very important.
I think that there is a case of putting him in the center of something, kind of like a special agent kind of thing, but it will be action driven, I would say, for the most part. Kind of like I see it like things like a Batman kind of thing. Like he doesn't have, or he facing a terrorist organization or something like that, or kind of like a payback story, like kind of like Taken, kind of like the old middle-aged guy you shouldn't have messed with kind of story. So I think that there's something cool to be done with that character, but I would rather see that in a game, And they could as well just try to like pick up like stories from some of the games, like something like Conviction. I remember like he had kind of like an engaging story, and he ended like in the White House in a huge shootout. So those type of stories they're dramatic because they have like really high stakes. So from all the things that you could tell me that they're gonna put Sam Fisher in, I think that this would be at least one I would say like, okay, it's okay. You're not stepping on his grave.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this kind of gets me a little bit excited. Although, yeah, I mean, we both agree, like, we would rather have a fucking game. And I would be surprised if they weren't making a game, at least in the early stages or whatever, because it would make sense to release this and then say, like, hey, there's a game coming, and just, like, kind of get that marketing boost or momentum.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't know, because, like, for me, I'm going to try to word out, like, what the problem with this corporation is. The big problem these corporations have, at least for me. They no longer have stories and characters. They have content. And they're going to exploit these franchises in ways that are kind of like asymmetrical. Like Sam Fisher for Ubisoft now is really a skin. He could be a skin in any other games. They could make like a Assassin's Creed Sam Fisher skin if they wanted to and sell it. He could be a game inside a character. Like it's all like everything's gonna always revolve around like being a skin. But yeah, he's a skin. He's an NPC. He just inhabits whatever they think, whatever business model they have. That's kind of like how I feel. It's the whole thing. Like okay, we have a live service game like The Division. How do we put Sam Fisher here? Or like okay, we have a gacha game. How do we put Sam Fisher here? Or like we have a tactical class-based shooter. Who's Sam Fisher? And that's a problem. Like it's no one's thinking what's the next Sam Fisher game. It's just like how do we make money out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if we tie this in with what they said in like a couple months ago or maybe a couple weeks ago, where they're going to shift towards live service games. This is like the apocalypse for what we love. Like
it's over.
It's over. Like it's totally over. And I mean, we're going to go into a couple more franchises. Like we have Assassin's Creed and we have FarCry. So let's begin with Assassin's Creed. And then we can tie it all in the end with a shit-colored bow, or I don't know what.
No, we tell them how to fix it.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
How to fix it, and then they do it, or they hire us, like whatever they choose.
One of the two will happen. Absolutely. Yeah. So Assassin's Creed, just like I said, it's a spiritual successor to Prince of Persia, which is to me a beloved franchise. I mean, that trilogy was really really good. Then they tried kind of to revive it with the what's it called? The Sands of something, Forgotten Sands, and it wasn't really that good, but I mean they tried.
No, but they did with Prince of Persia. They did the one that was cel shaded, but I don't think it had a name. I think it was just Prince of Persia.
It was just Prince of Persia. Yeah. That one was cool.
I thought it was great. I thought it was like they are actually trying to reinvent it, and I played it, and it was like this is a good game. I finished it, and and I liked it a lot. And there were some complaints from people saying like, "Oh, you can't die in that game," which was not true. Like you would die, but it wouldn't say game over. It was exactly, it would pick you up and put you at the beginning with it, and it was just a mechanic. But it's like the game is not easier or harder. It's just a different flow, and I thought that that was good. And in general, I thought the game should have gotten like more attention from the media. It was honestly a good attempt. It was open world. You could go different places, in whatever order you wanted to. I remember that as well, kind of like Breath of the Wildish kind of thing. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I enjoyed that game. I mean, I prefer the initial trilogy, but that game was solid. I mean, it was cool. So yeah, we get into Assassin's Creed now, which begins as this, like, really, as you said, very forward-thinking sci-fi / epic game, because you have this guy that can get into a machine and access his what's the name?
the Animus.
The Animus, but he accesses his ancestors,
Yeah.
which is such a fucking good idea. And they kind of
You like it? You're an Animus stan?
not. I mean, I'm not sure if "stan" is the word, but I think that at that moment in history, I thought it was really original. Like, it was really, really cool.
I'm always of the mind of thinking like, what if we don't have that shit? Like I don't know. Like, what if it's just this?
Oh,
Like-
just the period piece, you mean?
Just a period piece. Like it's like you're just in the past. Like in games, like there's not an Animus in The Witcher 3. You know,
Absolutely not.
that kind of thing.
The Animus is the console.
Exactly. You're Desmond.
Exactly.
So I think that that game like had a very interesting origin, because it was like usually how games used to were used to be. It's like how we used to do games. Like, you have people with different skill sets, and then they had people from Prince of Persia that had the ability of recreating this like kind of like how can I put it, like these other civilizations and different period pieces and stuff like that. And at the same time, you have people that were able to create really good gameplay, and also they had people that knew about stealth. And there were some systems that were trying for Splinter Cell back then that in a way that was also an option at some point. There was a demo of like one Splinter Cell game that it kind of looked like Prince of Assassin's Creed. And then what happened is like they took that idea and they were like, no, let's take this engine, let's take these systems, and let's make Assassin's Creed. Like, how let's have here it is, a new game.
A new game,
a
Cristian?
new game, a new idea. And that's how it was like, that's how they gave birth to the first Assassin's Creed.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I remember being a little bit disappointed, because I'm gonna be honest, like, the first Assassin's Creed is not my favorite.
No.
To me, the second one was when I said, what is going on here? Like, this is amazing.
Because the first one, you would only have like, the only stories were like the exposition. Like, you would meet someone and they would give you like a speech talking about the past 300 years of history in the world and the political situation in Jerusalem. And that was like different. And those were the missions. Like, there was no...
And they were very repetitive as well. I remember it. Like, it was pretty much kill.
It was like, yeah, exactly, like daily missions, kill, hide kind of thing. It was very repetitive. And then they brought Ezio.
Auditore da Firenze. Yes, they did. That's when it kind of picked up. And yeah, I was very surprised by that game. We kind of covered in the last episode. Yep. So I'm not going to get into that, like the fourth wall breaking moment that I loved. But yeah, like... They did that. Then they did Brotherhood, which was like kind of a spin-off-ish game, but to me felt like a worthy title. And then my favorite one, I think up until now, is Revelations. Like, that one, like the gameplay thing, the story, the scene at the end with Ezio speaking to Desmond is like one of those moments in games for me.
It was groundbreaking, and I think that at that point, Ubisoft was a good studio in the sense that they knew what was working in their games. You know, like, they knew that they knew a lot of things, but they knew that in order for the franchise to grow, they would have to let Ezio behind. And but at the same time, they didn't want to do it because Ezio was the character. He was in a way somewhat of a Sam Fisher, you could say. Like he had a great personality. We knew a lot about him, and it was a character that we grew to love, and it was just him. Like so, but then it's like when I think that Assassin's Creed is a really good exposition point of how the company just kind of like lost control of everything because when they let go of Ezio, they didn't know what to replace him with. You know, at least that's kind of how I feel. Not sure like how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, none of the characters that they've put as a protagonist since have even come close. Like we have Connor, aka Raton Haketon, which a name that I found really cool. Then we have Edward Kenway, who stars in the less Assassin's Creed game that I have ever seen, because like the Assassins and the Templars are like an afterthought. Like it's a very good pirate game. It's an amazing pirate game. But Assassin's Creed, like, there's nothing there.
It has nothing to do with Assassin's Creed, and I would even say the same thing for Valhalla.
I haven't played that one, but yeah.
It like you see them apart, and it's like when you see like next to the next to the next, you're like, okay, this is changing. And then with Origins, they kind of like rebooted the whole thing, and they took off the mask, and we're like, you know what, we don't even know what this is anymore. Let's figure out together. But I think that after Ezio, they also had this weird controversy that one of their developers. This is like a time. If we go back in time, right now I think that video game outlets like Kotaku and stuff like that, they have a lot of power, but back then they had all the power. So one of the controversies that they had is like, I think it was one of their developers, something like that, said that they didn't have female leads. Like they didn't have a female lead alternatives, like for example how Mass Effect does it, because it required like a lot of work.
Oh, and that controversy, yeah, I remember the boob controversy. Remember?
Yeah, because they were like we would have to do new armor for them and new animations, and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" And obviously, everyone started virtue signaling. We're like, "Well, if a studio like this can do it, then no one can do it." And then I think that that's a good example of how Ubisoft, when it became this huge corporation, started like figuring out things. After that, every single character in their games can be either male or female. You just like basically choose whatever you want to do, and then you do it. And I understand that you could do that. Mass Effect does, and it does it really well. But in these games, it takes away a lot from the personality, because at the same time, these are kind of like historical games. I know that they're not meant to be like, this happened, but when you go like 300 years in the past, and then okay, this character is a woman, and it doesn't have any implications if it's a woman or a man, then it's like, this is weird. Like, why are we not exploring different things if we have this different traits as a character? And I think that's part of the soul draining process that eventually ended up kind of like killing the creativity in this place. Like they don't care,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's also like the issue I see. Like I love having the option to have a male or a female lead. Like in its core, I think it's awesome, because I want to maybe tailor my experience or whatever it is. Also, for example, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the voice actor for Alexios was awful. So everybody went with Cassandra because, I mean, she was infinitely better. And all that also makes it like a Wonder Woman simulator, which is pretty cool. But back to the point. I think that I would say the beginning of the end was a little bit earlier for me, because when, spoilers for Assassin's Creed 3.
If you haven't played it, it's been 13 years with spoilers ahead.
Exactly. It's been fucking ton of years. So Desmond dies, right? So the whole thing around Desmond, you asked me before if I'm an Animus stan, and what I think I like about the Animus is that anybody who buys an Assassin's Creed game, at least before, or no, still now, You buy it for the period piece. You buy it to be a Viking. You buy it to be Wonder Woman. You buy it to be an Egyptian badass, whatever it is. But what used to have that make sense was the present day shit. Was the fact that Desmond was fighting against this thing that was gonna make the sun kill the earth, which I don't really remember the details, but I thought it was exactly literally alien gods.
He had aliens, exactly. He had aliens.
100%. Aliens, the meme, right? The guy with the hair.
Aliens. That's the explanation.
Yeah. To me, I love that part, not because I love Desmond as a character, not because Nolan North had his 20th character in a video game at that time, not because it was amazing, but because the story around Desmond was amazing, and that's what made sense for me to be going to Italy in the Renaissance, or for me to be going to the American Revolution.
It tied it together, for sure.
Exactly. Now, with Captain Kenway's Pirate Adventures, which is for some reason titled Assassin's Creed 4, the present day things, I mean, there is kind of a cool wink and a nod there, like Abstergo is Ubisoft, and I now understand behind the evilness that they have now that's what's true.
Yeah, exactly. And that applies to the other ones, which is why the new Viking game is not called like Blood Eagle. And then you just get rid of the knife and you say, hey, this is a new franchise and it's called Blood Eagle and you're a Viking and you do all this cool shit, and then you don't have writers having all stuck on thinking, how am I gonna put Templars and assassins in the middle of like the Nordic scene? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why what if we explore further? And they don't do it. Then it's just like, okay, it has to be an Assassin's Creed, so there has to be Templars and assassins, but then you're gonna be like also riding a wolf.
Right? Oh, yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense. But to me, that's the beginning of the end, where they said, oh, you know what? People don't really care about the present day stuff. Let's just insert whatever, because the reveals for Assassin's Creed 4, 5, and what's the next one? Syndicate?
Syndicate.
Yeah.
What's Syndicate, right? Yeah, Syndicate.
Yeah, Syndicate. Like, the twists at the end, which used to be really cool, were the most whatever things that I have ever seen in a video game. Like, I remember, and this is a spoiler for Assassin's Creed Unity, and I don't care because that's the worst one. That is the worst one. Like, I remember you go into the Animus because you're looking for the bones or maybe the skull of an elder one, which are these like superior beings or maybe superior humans, something like that. And then at the end, you realize that the bones are in the catacombs of Florence, so they're lost because there's thousands and millions of bones there, and you're never gonna find it. And that's the end of the game. That's like, you did all this 20 or 30 hours of game just to realize that it was all pointless. And that Raiders of the Lost Ark-ish kind of twist at the end fucking infuriated me, because I was like, so what I did doesn't matter. You know what? It's like, oh my god.
And it's sad because it's the trick here, I think, it's like they find things that work. They used to find things that work, and then they would let go of them, and they wouldn't have anything to replace them with. And this is one of those cases, because it's like nothing matters, because the character I've been playing, I don't give a crap. Like, I don't even know who he, like, I don't know who he is, or like, it's not gonna have another game, or like the next game is gonna be like in some other time, and like it's not even gonna be related. It's still, I believe there's some redemption to be found for the Assassin's Creed game, but we'll leave that for the end, for when we discuss how we fix everything. But yeah. I do think that in the overarching narrative of Assassin's Creed games, everything that worked at the beginning, everything that was incredible at the beginning, no longer exists in the same shape at all, and it was not replaced with new things that were just as exciting.
I totally 100% agree, because it's what I was trying to say, but I got sidetracked because I'm crazy. they realized that people don't care about the present day stuff, and they just said, okay, let's just do a cool period piece and try to tie it together with whatever excuse we come up with. And it doesn't even have to be good because people don't care. Well, I'm sorry, but I may be in the 0.0001% that does care, and I thought it was really awful. I remember the reveal of Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, Captain Kenway's adventures, was this guy who is a pirate in the Animus is also a guy that works at Abstergo in the present. And I was like, why do I care? Why is that important? And it's like, oh my god! It's like, did I miss something? Oh my god!
It's just like new information.
New information.
Exactly. It's like new information that you were not expecting. It's like this is not like what exciting means. Exciting means there are risks, there are consequences, there are going to be sacrifice in order to fix things. It's like not because like, and this guy is it's the grandson of this other dude. And you're like, okay,
how about that?
How about that? And now we have like 60 hours of side quests and fetching and fetch quest and question marks in the map.
Exactly, because that's the other era, what I call the open world era. Oh, but by the way, I just need to say this to get it off my chest. I divided the games into eras. So the Desmond era is 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, and 3. The mediocre era is Black Flag, Rogue, Unity, and Syndicate, and I stand by that. And then the open world RPG bloated game era is Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. And now we have a new era. But before we go into that new era, I think that I commend them for rebooting the franchise in some ways with Origins, because I think that was truly a new game. Like that truly like revolutionized the way things worked, the way like the genre of the game changed. 100% commend them for that. The way they realized the settings, like the Egypt or Greece. I didn't play Valhalla, but those two like were very perfect. Like in that sense, that work that they do, like the historical work, at least to get those worlds alive, that is awesome. And I loved Odyssey, I loved Origins, but you can kind of see how they start to fall into the same traps. Like Odyssey is Origins with a new character, a new setting, but the game is the same. And then Valhalla looks the same from what I've seen in videos.
Yeah, it is the same.
And it is gonna be the same.
I think that what strikes me always from the Ubisoft games is like if you take every single element, you take like level design, you take like gameplay, you take like story, and all of them usually shift around like from 6 to 8, and then you add them up and divide them, and then it gives you a number like between 6 and 8. But there are never like 2 of those elements that spike to be a 10. Or like there's never something that you say this is just too good. And you could be forgiving of things that are not that good, but like there's nothing that is like really too good. Like if you say Valhalla, I'm sure like if you go like, okay, it has all the check marks, but it's just not too good at anything. And nope. I expect a game to be too good at something. And like even the games I'm currently playing, in like I actually picked up Judgment, the Yakuza game, and it has things, we can talk about it at the end, but like it has things that are just way too good. And yes. And then you just like you get like, you know, like okay, I'm gonna forgive everything, like let's go. But with Assassin's Creed games, it's like no, it's like this game, it's okay. Like that's the best I can say. It's okay. And what you're saying, like the maps, they're great. They look good. They look fine. At any point, I'm usually like awestruck or being like I'm playing Journey or like a masterful classic or like that hidden gem, The Witcher 3, being like, oh my god, look at this. It's never like that. It's always like, no. Okay, it's Egypt. It looks good.
Exactly.
But that's Egypt. It. Exactly. I am in Egypt. These are the pyramids. Everything you expect, it's there. That's the other thing. Like, if I say Assassin's Creed in Egypt, it's like, can you climb the Sphinx? Yeah, you can. Can you jump from the nose? Yeah, you can. Can you go to the pyramid? Yeah, you can. You can do anything. You have an eagle, and with the eagle, I can see things. Like, yeah, you can. Like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally get it. And I think that what you said about it being like what's the word I'm looking for? Like amazingly mediocre in everything. Like, I totally agree, because
average student. It's the average student in the class. Like
100%.
no one's gonna look at an Assassin's Creed game from Ubisoft and be like, this kid, he has potential. I know it's just like, yeah, it's the Assassin's Creed kid. It's
Yep.
okay. We don't need to talk with their parents. They're just
Yeah.
gonna go to some mediocre university and get a job, probably a software developer, and that's it. It's fine. Yeah.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. I can't really say anything to that. One thing I do have to say is that the stories, particularly, which, as I said, the Desmond era was that was like the gameplay was amazing at that point and everything, but the stories now are especially bad, like very bad,
They're TV quality.
like CW quality.
Exactly.
Like
See the quality. It's like, again, like you're gonna expect things to be this way because you read it in the title, and that's what's gonna happen.
totally, totally. And then now we have the future, or what's going on now, which is Assassin's Creed Infinity. Just when you thought that it couldn't get more corporate, whatever, live service bullshit. Assassin's Creed Infinity. I mean that's not the final name; it's the code name, but just the name already gives you what everything you need to know. It's never gonna end.
The
Yeah.
code name is horrible because we had Disney Infinity, which was the same soulless idea, which is like, what if we just ask you for money?
Every 3 months.
Exactly. What if every 3 months we just release new skins and you just buy them? Like, can't we do that instead of like making a new game? I don't know how they're gonna pull it off, but I could like think of ways of doing it. But again, it's this typical case of them thinking we need a live service game. What's our biggest franchise? Assassin's Creed. Okay, make it work. That's it. No one plays Assassin's Creed and thinks, I wish this was worse and more expensive. Like that's if you think of it from the point of view of the consumer, that's the mindset. What if I don't stop spending money on this?
Oh my god. Well, I mean, I have more things in the list here, but I don't want to keep talking about this. Let's just move on. Oh no, there is one other thing that they're doing a Prince of Persia remake. I don't know if you've seen the trailer.
It looks like shit. It looks so bad. It's disappointing.
You know what? I think the issue lies in the fact that they named it a remake. If it would say remaster, I wouldn't say it looks like shit.
I think that that's an interesting discussion. Like, what's a port? What's a remake? What's a remaster? And what's a director's cut? Like the because right now the thing is like, this is software, and software can be run on different devices, and there are different things that you can change. And I'm not sure when they greenlit this project, but I'm pretty sure that they did it way before Resident Evil 2, because if they knew what people are expecting from the word remake, they wouldn't launch this mediocre shit. Because even games like Skyward Sword, that it should be a port. You should be able to call that a port.
It is a
Like,
port, yeah.
like it's the same game. They made some marginal improvements, and I think in the case here, it's like it looks like they did a lot of new things. Like the textures are new, like some animations. They probably put some work into it, but not enough. Sorry,
Not enough,
like
exactly.
not enough. I'm not buying it. Like, thanks for
No.
the effort, but this is not. And I love that game.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, I think I would buy it even though I think it looks like shit, because I want to see that again. Like, I want to and I also want to, well, you know what? I'm not sure, because I don't want to support them doing this like that, right? But I don't know.
I can wait when the price drops or something like
Exactly.
that. And I want to see
Exactly.
like what the price tag on this can
I
be.
believe it was about $40, and don't quote me on that because I'm not sure, but they did like that. This was going to release in February of this year, and they delayed it almost indefinitely. I don't believe it has a window now, and that may be because they realize it looks like shit. Like, there is hope, I think, for this.
The backlash is big. If you the dislikes are, the ratio is pretty high for a PlayStation announcement game. I think that these studios, if anything, the only hope I have left from these studios, it's doing this remasters. Like, if they keep doing this well, if they do this well with a few classics that I haven't played in the last 13 years or 10 years, I could see myself spending money on this crap. Even though it's not pushing the envelope in any direction, at least from the point of view of video game preservation and keeping and feeding this market that is single player experience, I'm kind of like okay with that. But
Yep.
so I guess like they could fine tune this. I mean, if
100%.
there's a game they could remake, it's this one, for sure.
Yeah, and also like if this is done well and they see that it's a success, they may think about remaking the second one, War Within, and then also the Two Thrones, which I
Yeah,
also
they could make the whole trilogy, and
Yeah.
that could be fun.
that'd be amazing. And then they could remake Splinter Cell.
And then that's where I was going to.
Yeah.
And then we'll get a new Splinter Cell game, which is the original with better UI, great textures, better animations. Like I could see that happening, and that would be something I would be excited for, like unapologetically excited for, like a new Metal Gear game with great illumination algorithms and stuff like that. That would be awesome.
Then the last pillar, which I don't want to delve into it too much because I mean we've already said what we needed to say about Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell, but I do think that there is something that you mentioned last episode, which I thought was pretty interesting, and that's FarCry, which I believe is the third pillar of the big franchises that Ubisoft has. So yeah, they bought FarCry from Crytek, which they did the first one. They then did the Far Cry 2, which is Ubisoft's first game in the series, which was located in, I think, North Africa. Like that was the
It was
setting.
an island.
I didn't love that game at all. I bought it for Xbox 360, and
It was really hard. It felt almost kind of like a survival game. It was pretty unique, I have to say that. I played it, I finished it, and it's one of the more complex gaming experience that I had at that point from a AAA studio, because it was hard and the mechanics were not all that clear and your objectives were a bit diffused. It was really open world as well, so, and it was very hostile. Like every 10 meters there was a gunfight. It was exhausting to play that game.
yeah, reminds me a little bit of 5 as well. Then Far Cry 3 came along, and that I think is for many people the favorite because
That changed everything.
It changed everything. I mean, the crafting system was great. The Michael Mando as Vas Montenegro was really awesome. He's a really talented actor.
The story was great.
Yeah, the story was really good. I mean, I don't really like it, and I don't really know why, but for Far Cry, they always need to add a section where you're drugged out of your mind and you're fighting somebody. Why would they do that?
They that's the thing. Like they pick these things and they think this is the soul of the game, and they're wrong. Like in Far Cry 3, what I think that game had going on, it was something kind of like what we talked before. It's like everything interconnected. Everything was good. Like some things were a 10, some things being a 10 helped other things being a 10. Like the sound design wasn't all that great, but for example, the fighting was good. The skill sets that you have were good. The outposts that you have to take were super fun to dominate. You had the crafting system that was amazing. You have a really good villain. You had a good story because you have characters that you had to save. Like you had a reason for being there. Like you had a real reason. It's like that could be a movie. Like you actually, he became kind of like a badass. Like he had to rescue his friends. It's kind of it's good. It's genuinely good. And also you had the whole thing where you like get high and then you have hallucinations, and also they had the DLCs, which were good as well, and they were completely different. They had the one that was
Blood Dragon.
Blood Dragon, man, that was and they're making a remake out of that one, and that was good. That it was just
80s, right? Like totally.
Yeah, exactly. And the character was completely off the top, and then we would kill someone, we like, now you're dead. and it's like completely aware of like where the story was going and what it was supposed to do. So that game it changed everything, to be honest. And in the next one, they at that point they were not fucking up yet, because the next one had more systems and it was kind of like more of the same, and still had this thing where if you didn't do anything you could finish the game in 20 minutes, because the guy at the beginning tells you wait here for 20 minutes, and then he comes back after 20 minutes and credits roll. and he had kind of like a good villain, but it wasn't as good as Bass. And I think that at that point it was like they seemed like they had a hold of the formula.
Yeah, I do believe. I mean, I liked Far Cry 4. I got a little bit tired at the end of it. I don't know why. I mean, I think I kind of felt the copy paste of the formula because I mean, yeah, they saw they had success with the third one. They said, okay, let's do the same thing in the Himalayas with Agent Troy Baker, and they did it.
And at the same time, it's not as pressing of a story as the other one.
No, not at all.
Like the urgency in the first one. First, the sense of you being nobody. You're just a guy that at the beginning, like, you can't even hold a weapon. You're just like, you were partying with your friends, and that's cool. And at the same time, you have to rescue your friends. And then in the second one, it's like, oh, become the dictator of this thing. And it's like, okay, I'll do it, but I'll take my time. And also, the map was way too big. It's like, then it gets bloated. And you see that's when I got worried. Like I remember playing that game and thinking the next one is not gonna be better than this. I mean, they did the after that, I think it was Primal, which
has the same map as 4.
Yeah.
I thought that was so weird.
But yeah, and I think the price tag was also pretty big as well. Like it was
a full price game.
It was a full price game. Yeah, it had the same map, but it completely different mechanics. But at that point, I was okay. This is different. Hope that they keep experimenting, but no, they didn't. Of course, they had to turn it into shit.
But wait, did you play Primal?
I played it. Yeah.
Okay. And did you like it? Was it good?
I thought it was fun.
Okay,
that's all I'm gonna say. Like it's not. No. Like I could keep talking about it. I thought it was fun, but it's not. It doesn't really embrace. It's still fun. It's tied by the mechanics and the world. It's instead of being like this new thing, I think it's limited. Like it feels as a game that is limited, and you have to use mechanics that they become repetitive, which doesn't happen in the other games. You have more stuff to do.
Okay, maybe that has to do with the time, because I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like being limited to the weapons of that era, maybe.
No, that makes sense. Yeah,
that
that makes sense from the story. Like obviously you're gonna have a shotgun,
sure.
But you have things that were kind of like a shotgun, so you were replacing. It's not like it was a complete new system. You had things that replaced other stuff, and that was it was still Far Cry. It would still feel like Far Cry, and in a vehicle way, you would ride the animals and whatnot, and the enemy variety was not that good, so it had that going against it. But it was a really good, I thought it was a good experiment. It's something that I don't think that Ubisoft would do nowadays, you know.
No, I mean, I definitely commend them for taking that risk of going to like another, like a very let's say uncommon period of time. I think that was pretty cool. But at that time, I was a little saturated with 4. So I was like, I'm gonna skip this one.
It was a yearly. At that point, we were having like a Far Cry every year. We had like 4 or 5, then Primal, and then they released the 5th one, which I fucking hated it.
I kind of liked the 5th one. I mean, I thought it's more Far Cry. I mean, there's nothing really that I find revolutionary at all about it. But I thought that the villain, this guy who's like a
Jared Leto
meets Adam Levine, kind of religious. It was kind of interesting, I thought. Like the way, the story. It's not that I found it groundbreaking or anything, but I found that it kind of led me along the tightrope of well, not tightrope. Led me along that like the breadcrumbs of going through all these outposts and stuff. So I enjoyed it.
The real story that is based on, it's insane. Because it's not.
I don't remember the name of the guy, but I know what you mean.
It's not that far off. Like what happens in the game, it's not that far off from. I mean, obviously, if you were just like destroying helicopters and killing hundreds of people, well, that didn't happen. No one saved it. But there was this personality that basically had an army, and they had to kill him. So
What was his name?
I don't
His name?
I don't remember the name. I can search for it, but it was kind of like a big personality that had like this cult, and it's a very dark part of American history in the sense that they have all these laws and this whole system around kind of like basically the ability of wielding guns, and it kind of like backfired back then. So it's a point. It's like an event in American history that it doesn't get like people don't talk about it that much, but it's kind of like like a failure in governance because someone actually managed to take over a big chunk of a valley and basically create a small country and start a war and whatnot. So that was very interesting. And I think that they could have taken more risks then. At the same time, they marketed it in a way that it felt like, you know, like it had to do with the political situation back then. Like it was kind of, you're going to be killing like Trump supporters, shit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the series misses the mark way too much. Like they're like, we're not political, and it's like, then don't be political. Just
No,
no one-
but
no one-
just
no one expects you.
embrace it, because I mean, I think we kind of covered this back when we were doing Spanish episodes. But yeah, like they want to have the benefit of having a political setting or a political, let's say, air around it, but they don't want to have the backlash of saying that they have a political thing, right?
And at the same time, they don't have a message that's worthy of anyone's time. So it's like, they
No.
just do Far Cry 3. You know, like someone gets lost in a fucking island in a bachelor party, and then he has to, destroy a terrorist organization. That's fun. That's it. No one, but they were like, oh, we had a good villain. And then a good villain really needs to stir things up. It needs to motivate people or like create like a visceral reaction. Then when you say kind of like a dictator or like this type of cult leaders kind of character type of Charles Manson personalities, it's like, okay, this is coming from somewhere anchored in reality. And I think that that's where they lost it, because I think that with this game, like compared to, for example, Watch Dogs, I think that with Watch Dogs they never had it. Like it's just, that was never a game that anyone should even like talk about. Like
No.
it just happened that there hasn't been a new Grand Theft Auto, and even without a Grand Theft Auto inside, people are not playing Watch Dogs. So that's how bad that game it is. But I think with
exactly.
Far Cry, they still have an audience. They still have people that would say, I want to play another Far Cry.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit that even though I recognize everything that you're saying, and I probably agree, even though like at the time that I played it, the thing for me is that I like these kind of checkmark games where I go around the map and clean it up. I like it. The thing is that I'm realizing time and time again that it's kind of the same thing, so I'm kind of getting tired of it. It's too much.
And it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The map is so big, so many outposts, everything is a shootout. And what I think, and I think this is kind of like the point of like how can you fix this? It's like they should concentrate and do experiences that are more, I mean, from the point of view of the consumer. Not from, I know they have their metrics and they're like, you're wrong. What we need to do is sell more skins. Fuck off. We need to make this game free, and then people need to pay around $12 a month, and that's all we need. But from a consumer point of view, I would say that they need to like make these games a lot smaller, reduce the scope, but increase the quality.
Yes.
And that pipeline could give them first more creativity, and also just a better experience to anyone that plays their games, because I don't think that many people are like platinum these games,
Oh, hell no. I believe I looked at the platinum of Far Cry 5 just to see if it was attainable, and I was like, no. I'm not going to do this. Okay, and now the present of this saga, just to end the Far Cry thing, is Far Cry 6, which is in Cuba.
Not Cuba.
Not Cuba. Wait, oh, no.
Not Cuba.
Not Cuba. With Paisano Giancarlo Esposito. Of course, we all know him from Breaking Bad and the other one, which is called Better Call Saul.
Yep.
And yeah,
Gustavo
Fring. Yes, that's him. Who is the Chilean with the weirdest Spanish that I've ever heard. But I mean, that's just me being what's the word? Nitpicky. Yeah.
I wouldn't call it nitpicking, but yeah, let's go with that.
It's horrible. I mean,
It
it is
would
horrible.
it would be I would call it you knowing Spanish.
Yeah, exactly. No, totally, totally. But so the thing with this game, and I apologize if we're getting too long with this, but whatever. The thing with this game is that I feel that, to me, and I would dare say to you as well, hits a little different because it hits very close to home, and literally hits close to home.
Yeah, it's too close. Not Cuba. It's actually
not
super close to
exactly
Venezuela.
exactly. So I would be lying to you if I said that I don't want to kill not Chavistas in this game. I would totally be lying to you. What do you think?
I think that if you tell me that that's a power fantasy, I'll be like, let's go. But that's not gonna be the power fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
I would bet good money that this game, when you finish it, it's gonna have like a speech being like, everyone's a bad guy, and maybe it's everyone's fault what's happening here, and then just say something like, but this guy Gustavo, he was extra bad, so I killed him. But like that's gonna be the message, like we're all bad, and it's like we don't get like that's not. It's not risky. Like
No,
that game is not gonna have any punch at all,
no.
because otherwise people are just gonna like gang up on Ubisoft, and they don't really want that. If this game actually had any balls, it would be kind of like a story of a guy knocking down a government
Not Cuba.
in not Cuba, or exactly not Cuba. But it's not gonna be even that. It's just gonna be like this weird idea of like revenge and not about politics kind of thing. And it's not even. It doesn't like you see the trailer, and it doesn't seem to be even that campy or that like it seems to be taking itself seriously. And then they have a gun that fires cities and plays La Macarena. And it's like the fuck. Like, pick a lane. Just pick a lane.
And then you have a wiener dog that has the hind legs don't work, and it has like a wheelchair.
Yeah, exactly. You have a cute animal, because every piece of media needs to have a cute animal. Like it's the baby Yoda of FarCry.
Yes, it is. So yeah, I think I'm gonna be skipping this one.
I don't think I'll play it. I don't think I'll play it.
I don't know either, because the thing is that we're gonna get into our. I perceive from you love for the Yakuza thing, which
Exactly.
I think, yeah, because I think that I'm getting something new. I'm getting something that, even though it has its rough edges, which we will cover, there is a message there. There is a story there that is meaningful, right?
Yeah.
And that is exactly what I'm not getting in these games.
There are characters. There's like,
Yeah.
I want to know what happens with this guy, kind of thing, or like, oof, this character is having a bad time, and I want to help him, kind of thing. And it doesn't happen with these games. They're just check marks in a map. All of them. Watch Dogs, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed. They're just like, you just open world game number 7.
Yeah. In fact, these games are checks in the map of my game, internal game. Like
exactly.
Side quest, finish of Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Exactly. It's just like that. That's why I think that they should definitely make smaller games. If they have more ambitious ideas, strip them from a franchise, from an IP, and bring a new game. Reduce the scope of all this crap. Refigure out what is it that you want to do there, and just create really meaningful single player experiences, because it's what people have been looking in your games. Pick a game that you're willing to maintain, like for example The Division, and just say this is our live service game, and that should be it. I don't think that they need to have an Overwatch and a Counter-Strike like every other company. But I understand where that comes from, because like they are a corporation, and they all need to produce the same things, and they want to like basically cross-pollinate the talent that you have in the video game industry, and then you end up making the same things. But all of the franchises that we've spoken about, they all have the potential to be reborn, and people will play them. Like that's what I believe, and that's why things like the Mass Effect remaster Legendary Edition thingy, it's such a huge hit, because it's like people still want that and people are still willing to pay money for that, especially now that there's a new generation. They want to know. It's like they've forgotten that. Like people want to know how a game from their beloved franchise is going to look like and feel like in the new generation. They just don't want you to patch it up with your live service game and then have it like running at twice the frame rate. It's like creating new experiences.
Yeah, I totally agree. And is that what you meant? Like this whole thing about reducing the scope? Is that what you meant about having the constructive criticism at the end?
Yeah, I mean,
oh,
for me,
perfect,
yeah,
yeah.
for me, yes. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, I agree.
it's like they need to rediscover what works in all of these franchises and
Franchise, yeah.
franchises, and then basically get these new games out the door with smaller studios, less ambitious, maybe smaller cycles, but try to make them, like just better. They have a lot. That's the thing. They have a lot, so they don't need bigger games. They need more games and smaller games, and I think that that's gonna give that's from the point of view of the consumer, of course. But I think that's kind of like the direction they should go, and they should
Yeah.
try to find a soul for these games. But they easily escape any possible controversy. Like it's almost like it's not art. It's just a product.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. I think that's great constructive criticism to like round up this bashing of Ubisoft that they deserve. So it's basically you have this game, reduce the scope by half, and grab all this energy and infuse it into a better product
Yeah.
and a better story. That's basically it.
Into another exactly, and even if you have too much of this left, you can put it into a new game, into new ideas, and that can be done. You could say, because in the end it's not that easy. It's not like, okay, we're going to take half the developers and with this half we're going to do another game. But to some extent you could say we're going to take twice the time and reduce the experience to this amount of hours, and people are still going to enjoy it because most people are not playing 80 hours of the game. They're playing less. So if most people are playing like 20 hours, then and they have these numbers, then make your games 20-hour games, and
Yeah.
and that's it. Then people will be like, that's it, great, have fun.
I
Naughty
would
Dog does
totally
that.
welcome that.
you
Yeah,
know.
they do that.
Plenty of studios do this, and they say, well,
But that is not going to happen. That I think we both know that
no,
it's
no,
not going to happen because
that's not gonna
like-
happen, of course.
I mean they turned Rainbow Six into a service game, which it's supposedly doing very well. Supposedly it's awesome.
And they did another one, and then they turned, and now they're making this Rainbow Six and Zombies game, and it's like, please stop.
Exactly. And now, so they have Rainbow Six live service. They have The Division live service. They have Assassin's Creed live service.
And they're gonna have the Rainbow Six cooperative mode live service as well. That's gonna be I'm guessing that's gonna get like ongoing support for sure if it actually hits. And I'm sure that eventually they're gonna do that with FarCry one way or another. Like something's gonna happen.
After 6, probably it's gonna be Far Cry Infinity or whatever.
I'm pretty sure that they're thinking on how can they turn Far Cry into, again, like a live service thing. Like this is what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and I mean the last thing we have to mention here, because it's part of the recent history of Ubisoft, is the fact that last year they had a lot of sexual harassment cases, and not even like when you say sexual harassment, I believe that there's like a variety of things you could say are sexual harassment. These were heavy cases.
Yeah, they had the whole umbrella.
Yeah,
they had from people complaining that it was kind of like a macho culture to people asking for sex in order to not get fired, kind of thing. So it's pretty sad that all, like, because all these companies, they love to do this performative activism, and then you think, well, every character in Overwatch is gay, so there can't be anything wrong in Blizzard.
And then what happens?
And then what happens? And the same thing here, because like these are corporations, these are jobs, and if no matter, it doesn't matter how many Rainbow DLCs or they have, Like it has nothing to do with how the sausage gets made.
No, I mean literally, we were talking about, we were saying about how in Assassin's Creed they had this whole boob controversy where it was harder to make female models or whatever it was, and we know from this sexual harassment things that one of the top what's the name perpetrators of this was a guy that literally said women characters are not going to sell, so we're not going to put them in Assassin's Creed. So so it's like, I mean, okay. Like the leadership here was very, very questionable. Let's just use a very great euphemism.
I think that you never know. Like again, like you never know how the sausage gets made, and I can't vouch for any studio that makes the games I play. I don't know how is it to work there. I just hope that everyone that works on the games I play are happy and they're getting what they want professionally and personally out of the experience. And if not, I'm pretty sad about it. Like that's all I can say. And this, but it obviously it pisses me off even more when these companies only do things for performative reasons. Like it's the same thing. Like whenever there's like June comes around and it's Pride Month, they put the rainbow flag everywhere, except in countries where
in Russia or whatever.
Exactly. So in countries where being gay is not that popular. I wonder what's the reasoning behind it. And I imagine that even like the case should be the other way around. Like in those countries where it's more important to do that. But I don't know. It's just how it is. It's
the bottom line. The bottom line. You know, like because they know that if they do that in, I don't know, Saudi Arabia or Russia, it's gonna affect their bottom line. That's the main thing.
Yeah, I just don't play those games.
That's but you know what?
That's a message.
That I try to like. There's an internal debate that I've covered here with John as well, but I'd love to get your insight in, and it is when you have these companies like Activision that just so everybody's caught up. Like yesterday or maybe today, I woke up and there was the news that there was this lawsuit from the state of California to Activision.
It's like a public action lawsuit. It's like they have a lot of information.
Yeah, a lot of information about women having a horrible time there. Supposedly, allegedly, there is a woman who took her own life because of the things that she was suffering from her boss. I don't know the names of these people, but it's like pretty serious stuff. Even maybe more serious than the Ubisoft ones, even though it's all serious, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't believe anybody took their life in Ubisoft, but I don't know, really. Perhaps next episode is going to be what the fuck happened with Activision? No. Not really, because I don't have the initial love for Activision that I had for Ubisoft.
Exactly.
But yeah,
we could do one like what the fuck happened with Blizzard, but then it would be the same episode that we had today, just with different franchises.
Exactly, like Diablo.
And we would be even more mad because we probably spent a lot more money.
100%. But yeah, like the thing about this is that like what you're saying about performative activism or performative virtue signaling or whatever you want to call it. Like Activision is a company that literally took the prize from a Hearthstone player just because the guy said something about Hong Kong.
Free Hong Kong. He said free Hong Kong. He said they asked him like, "Do you want to say some words?" And then he said free Hong Kong. And they banned him for life, and they removed they took all the prize earning from him, and they fired the announcers.
Who had nothing to do with it. I mean, they were just there.
They were just there. They probably knew he was going to say that because they were like hiding underneath the desk. But it was so over the top. Fuck that game, by the way. Like that's like honestly, like it just like you can't do that and still expect me to give you money. Like it was so terrible, and they keep doing that all the time. Yeah, like.
Oh yeah, I think I remember the initial thing I was going for, and it is that like. I think that it's very powerful for everybody like you or any gamer out there to say my wallet is my vote and I don't want to support this. I initially with the whole Ubisoft thing, I was like, okay, fuck Ubisoft games forever. And I have kind of thought about it because I have this internal dilemma with this thing where, okay, I'm kind of boycotting this corporation that has bad actors in it and these people that are awful. But then me not supporting them, who does that really hurt? Like, does that hurt them, or does that hurt the developers?
Or you.
Or, well, perhaps not me.
No, because you're not playing the games. Like, in the end, it's like they probably don't care to some extent.
Oh no, 100%. Yeah.
But there's always that balance that you have to make. Like you can always be like, I'm a consumer and I want you to do better, please. And you could demand that as a consumer. But there's also the point where you just lose hope. I'm sure that when it comes to things like sexual harassment, the company is not built around sexual I hope that Ubisoft is not built around sexual harassment in the workplace. And the same thing goes for Blizzard. Like, I want them to change, and it's a company. Like, I know those things can improve and they can be better, and that's what they need to do. But when it comes to things that they have like a political or like ideological baseline, like for example, like freedom of speech, I draw the line there, because that's the company saying,
yeah,
this guy's banned, and then the whole structure saying he's banned for life, and these people, you're fired, and whoever laughed at that shit, you're fired too. And I would fire everyone if I could, that type of attitude. But when it comes to things that you're not supposed to happen, it's like, okay, we have laws for that and we can change them. I don't think there's kind of like a ethical dilemma there, because most people in Activision or in Ubisoft, they're not sexual predators. They're honest people. They're hardworking developers. So I'm not going to judge all of them for that. But I will judge the company for their ideals and what they stand for and what they say to the public. So
yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what each person's values are. Like, for example, I think that, to me, one example for something similar to this is, I really wanted to play, what's the name of this game? The RPG where you don't fight, and it's like made by communists.
Disco Elysium.
Yes.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, so that game interests me a lot. John played it, told me it's amazing. I'm sure you liked it as well. But okay. The fact, okay,
fucking arrogant piece of shit. Like, I'd rather read a book. It's not that. Okay. It's not that big of a deal. They don't fool me. They don't fool me with it. They read a few books. I get that, but
okay. I think you're the first person to say something like that, and I love it. But I'm sure you're aware that these guys like won an award and thanked. Not Trotsky, like Lenin or something like that.
They won 2 awards, and the first one they thanked
Lenin, right?
Lenin, and then who was the other guy? A bunch of communists.
They also have a Stalin poster.
They have an unironically Stalin poster in their office. I don't know how unironically that can be, but they have a Stalin poster anyway. So so fuck those people. But
yeah, exactly.
But I didn't want to play the game because I heard like people were saying that it was a good game, and I think I kind of like believe a little bit on that, separating the art from the artist. But then I played it and it wasn't even that good. Like, people, they're just like, honestly, like, video game journalists they're just always socially LARPing everywhere, including in their own work. So it's cool. It's a good game. It's a good RPG, pen and paper RPG. But
I don't know which insult is worse: me saying that I don't want to pay for a communist game, or you paying for it and then saying, it's not that good.
That's the point. That's the point. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, do you think I'm gonna, like, I had that mindset, like, I'm not gonna give them the money, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play it because like I can do it, and it's not gonna make that much difference in their pockets. And at the same time, I don't want to give them the agency of being like, I made the best game of the year and you can't play it because you're not a communist. And it's like, well, you know what? Fuck you. I can play it, and I can tell you that I wasn't that mind blown. Like,
okay, that's cool.
It's like. What a great, it's like, great gameplay. This is insane. Bunch of words. Amazing. It's like, fuck that. So.
Okay, I love that review.
But I was completely aware where the game was coming from, and I do have to say in their sake that it is a very Soviet game in the sense that it's a very nihilistic piece of work, and I do not subscribe to that way of thinking, to that philosophy nor ideology, but they're not super biased. It's not a piece of propaganda or anything, but at its core it's a game that I disagree philosophically. So
Okay.
I'm not, it has good things, it's well written and whatnot, but I could have lived my life without playing.
Okay. That's awesome. The last thing I want to say about this topic is the fact that if you want to buy a game, buy it. If you don't want to buy a game, don't buy it. But don't really get that bogged down with it, because if you want to spend responsibly, like if you want to live your life without spending one single cent irresponsibly, you're not going to be able to do it, because there's going to be suffering in the food that you eat. There's going to be suffering in some stage of what your iPhone is made. There's going to be suffering at some point and some component of something you have. So don't really think too much about it. I mean, try to do it if you want to, but don't get like crazy about it, right? That's just my point. And we get to the final section of the show. I think that we're going to be a little bit more positive now, because we're going to be talking about the games that we are playing.
We're going to be talking about Yakuza games.
Yakuza.
I follow your advice that you gave me offline about like trying a Yakuza game, and I bought Judgment on the PS5. It looks great. It plays great. The story is fucking awesome. And I've never been to Japan, so I am super happy to like literally walk around the streets of Tokyo solving crimes and kicking ass. It's just insane.
I haven't played it yet. I mean, as you know, I played Like a Dragon. I loved it. I already finished it.
You finished it?
Yeah, I did. And it's kind of a long game. It does have moments where the story kind of has the pace of a snail, but I think it's like you said, like this game is not a 10 in every part of its whatever, but the highs are high enough that you forgive it.
Yeah.
Like for example, the Yakuza, both the 0-1 and Like a Dragon, have these parts where there's voice acting and it's like a normal cutscene. And you'll tell me if in Judgment it happens, but there's other parts where it's just like text based.
Yeah.
And it feels like thing. What's happening?
It's weird that they don't just say let's do voice acting for everything, but there's a cultural reason behind it. I believe. I think that most JRP games don't really give a shit about that. So it's something that it's been there for so long that it's not. It's just a way of like differentiating like main gameplay versus side quests. It's kind of like almost like game design decision. Not that they actually need because there are not that many as well. Like they could proactively do that, but they don't. So. But yeah, it's the same thing in Judgment. Like the side quests, they have like they do say one word or something like that when they start, like hey or excited, but then it's just text.
Yeah, and initially,
and also going forward, so what I heard is like the Yakuza series is gonna be like turn based and kind of like campy and off the edge, and then Judgment is gonna be like the brawler, more serious franchise basically.
Yeah. That's what I heard as well. And initially that turned me off from Yakuza 0 when I initially played it, because I don't know. I think in my case it was kind of like a snobby thing of what's this text thing with no voice acting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but I don't know. It just it's just like get off your high horse. That's what I said to myself. Get off your high horse and appreciate what this is. The story is really good. The characters are really good. I'm guessing that in Judgment is pretty much the same. But I'm not a big anime guy. The thing that we kind of discussed last week, but the thing of having very goofy things, like there in Yakuza, there's like a dragon cart, which is like a Mario Kart section. You have like you can have like a batting cage where you do things, and it's all super campy, super weird. And then the story is very, very like serious and almost even depressing. Like at the end, I was almost even crying because like it was very, very emotional, and I just loved it. I thought that this package has hundreds of hours of gameplay in it. I didn't really want to like go into everything because if I would still be playing the first hours maybe, but the story is something that is really like it's worth it. It's very, very much worth it. I can't recommend it enough. And I thought it was so good that I jumped into Yakuza 0 immediately. I didn't even like go through another game or anything. I just went into it because I want to know more about this world, and I want to know more about Kiryu, who's the main guy of the other Yakuza games. And yeah, like this is like, you know how when you see when you see a film from a country that you've never seen films of, where there are different codes, there are different ways of doing things, there are different ways to frame things, dialogue, like this new like audiovisual language that they have here in terms of more gameplay wise, I find it fascinating, and it's very fresh for me. So yeah.
I think I agree in this. Well, I think I don't think I agree. I 100% agree in the sense that it is new. It is a completely different experience. So I can't be happier that I actually play that game. That I'm actually playing that game, and at the same time, the idea that it can transport you to somewhere else, into a different culture, and feel so fresh. It's also that I find very welcoming. So yeah, I can't wait. You think you're playing the Yakuza 0 remaster? So does it still hold? Like, it looks good and all that?
Well, the Yakuza 0 actually came out. It's the last game, where not the last game. So after 5, which came out for PS3, this is like the one, and then 6 came out. So this one is actually pretty recent. It's from 2016, so it doesn't remaster really. The ones that have remasters are, so it's kind of complicated. So Yakuza 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 came out throughout the PS2 and PS3. Then Yakuza 0 comes for PS4.
Okay.
Then,
okay, I got it.
Then they grab the engine for Yakuza 0 and they do Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2, which are the first two.
Okay.
Redone, remade. Then after that, Yakuza 6 comes up, which is very recent. And then the latest one is then Judgment, and then Yakuza 7, like a Dragon.
Yeah.
So it's kind of convoluted, but
Okay.
But yeah, like the 0 still holds up because it's 2016,
Exactly.
it's very, very recent. And I'm enjoying it a lot. Like, I think I mentioned this last episode. Turn-based combat, I like it when it's done right, but it also feels more heavy. Like, it's more dense. But like the Judgment gameplay, which is just like this one, it's like brawling, so it's more easy to get into. So awesome.
That's cool.
So and then the other thing I wanted to speak a little bit about, not much because I didn't like it, but it has your name in it, Chris Tales. So that's why I wanted to include it. It's this new Game Pass game. It's an indie title, also turn-based, very cute art style. It's kind of like a Powerpuff Girls meets Disney kind of thing. I don't think I'll be playing it, but I think that if you're into these types of games, and I will always recommend indies, check this one out because it's on Game Pass for free if you have a subscription. So go ahead and check that out. I will have more to say on Yakuza 0 and Yakuza. I'm probably going to play them all at this point. I'm not going to kid myself. And I also have Judgment because I had all of them downloaded from Game Pass, and then you kind of tweeted at me and said, "Where's Judgment?" And I felt like, I have to do this.
It's really good. Play it. Also, you learn a bunch of shit. By the way, I wanted to mention I'm also playing Mass Effect Legendary Edition, but I reached Mass Effect 2 before we wrap up. And I have to say that I remember that being my favorite game ever for the longest time. And I always kind of doubted, but I'm playing it again. And it fucking is. The first game kind of aged a little bit, but if you haven't played Mass Effect Legendary Edition, go buy it. It's really worth it. Champion for the first one. It's still a great game, but the second game just glows up to the moon. It's incredible. It's insane. Play it. I recommend it. I'm playing as Renegade Shepard. What a character. What a ride. What an adventure.
I think I'm going to be playing that soon as well. Yeah.
Go for it. And now we can wrap it up.
Okay, awesome, guys. So now I'll leave you to plug your stuff.
So as usual, you can go to hammerspacepodcast.com and check out my newsletter and my podcast and whatever is in there. And that's it. Happy to be here once again. Thank you, Juan, for inviting me.
Absolutely. Check out his stuff. If you like this, please subscribe, like, and comment. What do you think about Ubisoft? What do you think about Happen? Do you agree that it's gone downhill, or do you love what's going on right now? We would love to hear from you, and we will see you on the next episode of the podcast.